Hi, my name is Robert Reich, and the topic is the hoax of entitlement reform. You know, it's become accepted economic wisdom that the only way to get control over America's looming budget deficits is to reform entitlements. That accepted wisdom is wrong, and you need to understand why. Now, Republicans typically trot out federal budget data showing a 32% increase in direct payments to individuals since the start of 2009, including food stamps, unemployment insurance, workers' compensation, subsidized housing. But these expenditures are not contributing to future budget deficits because they're temporary. They've resulted from the deepest economic downturn since the Great Depression, which forced many families to turn to the federal government for help. Well, what about Social Security and Medicare, along with its poor stepchild Medicaid? Social Security will not contribute to future budget deficits. By law, it can only spend money from the Social Security Trust Fund. And that fund has been in surplus for the better part of 2 decades, as boomers have paid into it during their working lives. And now that boomers have begun to retire, those surpluses are disappearing. But look, this only means that the trust fund will be collecting from the rest of the federal government the IOUs on those surpluses that it lent to the rest of the federal government. It's true, this still leaves the trust fund with a shortage about 2 decades from now. And yet the best way to deal with this long-term problem is not to raise the eligibility age for receiving Social Security benefits, as many entitlement reformers are urging. That would put an unfair burden on laboring people, most of whose bodies still begin wearing out when they reach their late 60s, even though they may live longer. And the answer is not to reduce cost of living adjustments for inflation, as even the White House seemed ready to propose in recent months. Look, Social Security benefits are already meager for most recipients. The median household income of Americans over 65 is less than $20,000 a year. Nearly 70% of them depend on Social Security for more than half of this. Besides, Social Security's current inflation adjustment understates the true impact of inflation on elderly recipients, because they spend far more than anyone else on health care, and health care costs have been rising faster than overall inflation. Which really leaves 2 possibilities that entitlement reformers rarely, if ever, suggest for Social Security, but are the only fair alternatives. One is raising the ceiling on income subject to Social Security taxes. In 2013, that ceiling is $113,700. And means testing benefits so wealthy retirees receive less. Together, these might make some sense. What's left to reform? Well, Medicare costs are projected to soar, but here again, look closely and you'll see that it's not really the problem. The underlying problem is the soaring cost of health care overall, combined with the aging of the boomer generation. And the solution is not to reduce Medicare benefits, it's for the nation to contain overall health care costs and get more for its health care dollars. Look, we are already spending nearly 18% of our entire economy on health care, compared with an average of 9.6% in all other rich countries. And yet we are no healthier than their citizens are. In fact, our life expectancy at birth is shorter than theirs, and our infant mortality is higher than theirs. That's because doctors and hospitals in the United States have every incentive to spend on unnecessary tests, drugs, and procedures. An estimated 30% of all healthcare spending in the United States is pure waste, according to the Institute of Medicine. Our balkanized healthcare system spends huge sums collecting money from different parts of itself. Doctors collect from hospitals and insurers. Hospitals collect from insurers. Insurers collect from companies or policyholders. A major occupational category at most hospitals is billing clerk. A third of nursing hours are devoted to documenting what's happened so that insurers have proof. Cutting or limiting Medicare and Medicaid costs, as entitlement reformers want to do, will not reform any of this. It would just result in less care. In fact, because Medicare's administrative costs are so much lower than those of private insurance, the nation would actually save money by opening Medicare to all. Get it? Taming future deficits requires not only limiting the overall growth of healthcare costs, it also necessitates cutting our bloated military and ending corporate welfare, tax breaks and subsidies targeted to particular firms and industries. This whole notion of entitlement reform, it's a hoax. It only distracts us from these more important steps. Thanks.